Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place where air related to Amazon, FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we bring another special guest. His name is Krushna Patel, and he's the founder and CEO of Awesome Solutions, where they specialize on everything that has to do with 3PL, fulfillment, and logistics overall. The reason why I wanted to bring Krishna today is, especially with everything that's been going on in the Amazon space and e-commerce in general, we've been seeing a lot of fluctuation on the cost of operations, everything happening when it comes to international freight forwarding, and more importantly, how to deal with all the rising costs of having a business on platforms such as Amazon. And I just wanted to bring Krishna to just understand more about, the importance of having a 3PL on your partnership, how they can help you mitigate the whole operation so much easier, and what are some of the things that they can help you to ensure that you can scale your business faster when it comes to e-commerce. So, Krishna, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hell yeah! Thank you, brother, for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you, man. A pleasure. So, I guess for those that might not know you, let's start with a brief introduction about yourself and what you do, and we go from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my name's Krushna. I run Awesome Solutions, which is a full service 3PL and FBA prep center. So we provide D2C fulfillment. So brands that are selling on Shopify, BigCommerce, all those D2C channels, everything wholesale related. So all the fairs and Walmarts, etc. And then on the other side, we provide the FBA fulfillment. So brands that work with us have a great advantage because we have direct carrier shipping rates. So it gives discounted rates. We have 24-hour dock to stock time, so they're able to ship faster. And then we're a partner with Amazon, so we're able to have a priority lane and same day shipping for FBA.
Cool. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. So, I guess let's start first with I guess a backup everything that's been happening, like the story of what we've been seeing the last couple of months when it comes to the logistics of things, warehousing, shipping, and everything. You deal with a lot of Amazon sellers, and I'm sure you have been seeing how the market has been shifting. So, I guess from your perspective and the conversation you're having, like, how do you see the involvement of having a 3PL partner be more important, I guess, in 2026? So we can start with that intro.
Absolutely. So there's several reasons why having a 3PL and a FBA prep center is so important. So a lot of the sellers we work with, they get their products internationally and they don't have a
Mm-hmm.
touch point here in the US. So they used to send their stuff directly to Amazon until in January they removed the FNSKU process. So anybody that needs that process and Amazon no longer provides, they have to send it to a prep center like ours. And there's several benefits. And the biggest ones is honestly for transparency purposes and quality assurance. So stuff comes to our warehouse, we would do the quality check for it to make sure that your end customer is getting the product that they're paying for. So we do the inspection, we would sticker it, polybag it, all the standard processes that need to be followed for that product and for Amazon. And then we would send it to the FBA center. So brands that use our prep center are able to have more transparency, a better customer experience, a better experience with Amazon because Amazon can contact us if there was anything related to the shipment since we have physically seen that product and did a quality inspection on it.
Awesome. So I guess on that initial pointer, I want to start with quality control. That's a big one, especially when it comes to selling online. I think not having the right quality, start getting those negative reviews, is what kills most brands these days.
Yeah.
So tell us more about how you guys add value on that front, because I know some people might argue that sometimes you can have an inspection done after production, and not necessarily you might have a quality control in place after that. But I know, especially when it comes to shipping, handling the product from, in this case, China to the US, many things can happen in between. Or maybe you have to do something to the packaging or some kind of final insert. That's also something to consider. So tell us what are some of the dynamics you're seeing with your clients and why this is also important.
Of course. Yeah, just to give like some surface level context there, the product itself, when the manufacturers make it, obviously there could be defects or things that could affect it. Obviously they're biased because they're the ones that are making it. So then they send it over to a third party like us. We would physically review it, make sure the end customer is getting that positive experience. Because the FBA centers are just taking the inventory and sending it out, right? They're not inspecting or looking at anything. So if anything, they're making the product worse because they don't know what the product is and they don't box it properly. Things like that so it could get damaged, right? So we want to make sure that we see the product, we put it in a packaging that would keep it safe. So sometimes it's like a insert flap box. It could be a bubble mailer with an FNSKU on it. It could just be anything that helps make sure the product is safe and the end consumer gets something that looks good and feels like what they're buying. So I
Yeah.
definitely think that's huge. And then also in terms of the actual FBA process is just sometimes when you do it yourself, or if you don't know all the entire process and how it works, you're not going to be able to optimize the shipment. You're not going to be able to do things like if you're able to switch it to manufacturer barcode instead of putting FNSKUs right there, you could save money. So there's this entire process that we know as Amazon experts in the fulfillment space that we're able to provide, and that helps our clients a ton. So especially the private label brands, they see that being an insane benefit when they could store the inventory with us and then just drip it into the FBA centers as soon as they need that replenishment instead of just having to hold everything there.
Yeah, which brings in to my next thing, which is what I said at the beginning of the episode. Like, one of the reasons you want to have a 3PL partner is also the efficiency of how to navigate all the complexities people have experienced with the increasing fees and everything, especially with Amazon. If you have overstock, that can be very, very kind of negative in, I guess, on the impact you're going to have on your expenses. So, from the experience you're having with Amazon sellers, like how this can completely change the game, because I guess a lot of Amazon sellers are used to keep everything on Amazon, and we know that's very bad, especially if you have a lot of stock. So, do you have like an overview, high level, how much more efficient and more cost effective now people are being by having a 3PL in between, and not only using a 3PL to fulfill Amazon will require, but more importantly, use that as a hub to expand into other marketplaces such as Walmart, TikTok, or your own website, things like that.
Yeah, so the flexibility is a huge part. So I'll give you an example. We have a client that sends us a container, and that container he used to send that directly to Amazon, and then they would just store it. And it was a pack of 6 for his product. And the thing is, now that we stored the product, he now wants to do a 6-pack, 12-pack, and a 24-pack. And if it was at the Amazon FBA center, that's not possible to do because they don't do any kitting, bundling, repackaging. So since it's with us, he sends us a simple Slack message and says, hey, make 5 cases of 6-packs, 12-packs, 24-packs. We're going to start testing new SKUs. We're able to do that immediately. And we have another client that does a similar thing. It's a laundry detergent company, and they want to have
Mhm.
bundles and kits with different accessories inside with that laundry detergent. And they're able to do that and just make a SKU right away on the fly and then just have us process that for the new FBA. So they're able to test things much faster, and we're able to ship things same day. So if there's an FBA shipment where you want to test things and you want to get to the market quick, and you have one of these enterprise level 3PLs, a lot of them would take, I've heard of stories, they take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to
It's
get a
crazy.
shipment out. Yeah, so it's going to take some time, and yeah, that's where a lot of the money's lost. So in us being able to receive it quickly, and then also being able to send it out quickly, cash flow is the most important thing in these e-commerce businesses. So that helps,
Yeah.
especially
And also the Amazon game, this as well, that if you go out of stock for so long, it's not only the revenue, it's about the organic ranking and other things that's so important. So it's important to have somebody that's very responsive when it comes to that, which I guess brings me into my next question when it comes to the importance of a triple L. I'm keen to hear your take on this. Like, how about like maybe being more optimal when it comes to packaging and things like that? Do you actively engage you or recommend some way or another optimizing their packaging? Because I see this so often, like especially if Amazon says don't touch the product, it just go from China to Amazon.
Yep.
Sometimes they don't realize how inefficient the packaging might be, or things like that, which could be a few pennies here and there, and could be a hefty amount of money on FBA fees. So how you guys add value when it comes to that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a ton of stuff there. First is it's crazy the inventory that we receive sometimes. I'll
Mm.
tell you, like we get a container and the client was expecting this, send them a picture and they're like shocked because it's not what they're expecting, right? There's
Yeah.
very little transparency in just getting stuff internationally in terms of what you're going to be able to receive because you don't really know the manufacturers or the factories sometimes. So that's a huge thing. And then in terms of value add, so one is optimizing shipments. So we have a special software that we use. Inventory comes to us. Then when we are planning a shipment, we're able to choose which locations, whether it's a single location, whether it's multi locations, because people don't understand that calculation sometimes, and you just have to look at the total sum value. So when you add the placement fee plus the shipping cost, you're able to get the exact. Then you divide that by how many units, so then you know exactly how much per unit you're paying for your shipping and placement, right? So people just assume if you're paying a placement fee, you're losing money. But a lot of times we've seen large shipments go right here to Pennsylvania, but you're saving so much on shipping that when you pay a placement fee, you end up still saving money. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and our team has over 25 years of Amazon experience. So they know what's going on. They've labeled millions of units, right? Like our team knows the process. So we're able to just provide value. And then even things like poly bags and specific mailers, anything material related. So sometimes we have to put like a little styrofoam insert in a client's package that we have. So we're able to work with our packaging partners, get that for them, and then we're able to just punch it in their box and then send it out.
Cool. So I guess in terms of now jumping to more actionable tips or things that maybe you have seen that shouldn't been done, like what are some of the things that you actively see Amazon sellers or your clients doing that are mistake that you spot on the warehouse or on the floor? Like you mentioned a couple of them already, but is there something that keeps happening beyond that that you say, wow, if they didn't have me in between, they would be wasting so much money? Is there something that keeps happening across multiple clients?
First thing I think is just having clear communication. I think
Hmm.
a lot of yeah, even beyond Amazon, just like a lot of sellers that we see working with even other 3PLs and even their manufacturer, I think they're just not setting the right expectation for when the product will arrive at their warehouse. So sometimes we get a surprise where a container just comes and then we have to send it out, right? Which is not a problem for us, but it can be for other 3PLs, and it also can be for your manufacturer if you just don't set like the clear expectations. So I think that's huge. And then also just doing research on the actual product type, because I know we have some brands that start off with a certain type of product, but they don't do enough research in the market to see how much like the PPC ads, contacting somebody like yourself, right, to like get the actual background of a product and then what it'll sell for and all that good stuff before going all in on it. So those are some things that we see. And then also just being able to have the proper 3PL in line before, because a lot of people do say like, hey, my shipment's coming tomorrow. Are you able to take it? And they're not a client of ours, right? So
Hmm.
of course we have an onboarding process that just like everybody else that needs to be verified before signing somebody on. So yeah, just being ahead of it, I think is one of the biggest things.
Cool. So now into the communication side of things, handling everything in terms of the logistics and so on. AI is something that keeps coming to the conversation as well. And I'm keen to know what is your take on that, especially with what you're doing internally. Like I feel a lot of times what people is really missing when it comes to handling the inventory is two things. First of all is the lead times. They don't really know how long it takes them to get a product from A to Z. And the
Yeah.
second thing is how they make sure they keep that momentum accurate enough to avoid stockouts and all of that. So are you guys internally using any kind of AI or things like that, or software, or how you guys make sure that it's also taken care of? Yeah.
Yeah, so we use some AI, but not to the degree where we lose that human touch with our customers and our
Yeah.
clients. So we have a process for project management, of course, that we do internally. When a client messages us in Slack, we're able to follow that shipment along the entire process with the PO process that we have. So we do use AI to some degree in terms of tracking and processing, but it's just the right balance of making sure that we do that plus our actual team is handling what customers want them to handle.
Cool. And on that note, talking about handling inventory and everything, something that keeps coming back after that is also returns. I see a lot of sellers losing a lot of money
Yep.
with inventory getting disposed, so they don't having an option of what to do with returns. So, do you have any advice when it comes to that, like how to handle returns and especially units that become unsellable? Like, what is your advice when it comes to that?
Of course. So a lot of times Amazon will mark up as unsellable, even though they're very sellable. So having a proper 3PL obviously makes a lot of sense. You could just set your default address. If something was disposal,
Mm-hmm.
unsellable, send it to that 3PL. So obviously there's a few costs associated with it, but if your product is over the value of like, let's say $30, it would be worth it because then you could
Yeah, you can
possibly,
fix it.
yeah, you could possibly sell that product. So we have a customer trickles in returns. That process for us, we inspect, we do everything. If it's good, it goes into that next FBA batch, which is what they want. You're turning the product over again. And if it's not good, then we're able to dispose of it. So it gives a second layer of quality check because a lot of what they claim is unsellable is very sellable.
Nice. And on that note, when it comes to returns and all of that, what is your take as well when it comes to handling this for, I guess, secondary markets? Like, because I also hearing that some people that maybe they cannot sell it on Amazon, as you mentioned, they might use it for the influencers, or they might use a 3PL to send it to the website, or just to actually reimburse or give a replacement unit to some of the clients, which is something you cannot really do through the Amazon. You need somebody as your 3PL to do it. So is that something you also advise and you see a lot of people doing lately when it comes to the returns?
So with returns, we do see that happening, and we do have a process for it. So we follow an SOP. If the returns are good enough, then they're able to do whatever they want with it. Most of them trickle it back to the FBA, but they do sell it to we're partnered with everything in the industry for this type of thing. So then we have a liquidation partner where some of our customers don't want to deal with it. Whole pallets of stuff could go to them, and then they're able to give clients, usually they're able to give clients close to their like product cost, sometimes more than their product cost. So at least they get reimbursed in full without having to deal with it at all. And then some of them just send it back to the FBA center. So then they're able to do that. But yeah, D2C orders as well, we're able to handle. So if there was things that like, hey, send this out to somebody because we want them to publicize it or an influencer, then we're able to send that. And then hopefully that gets some traffic.
Awesome. And I guess another question I have is regarding eligibility when it comes to 3PLs and warehousing partners, right? Because a lot of people that might be watching and hearing this, they might not know if you're the right partner at the right time, because maybe you're just getting started, right? So what is your advice when it comes to that? Like, from what you're seeing, who could benefit more from having somebody like you, especially to take over on all the different tasks that we have been highlighting so far?
Of course. So usually it starts to make sense to work with a 3PL once you're doing above 1,000 to 2,000 units a month. So before that, you're able to either self-fulfill or work with a very startup-friendly 3PL. So that usually is the best benefit to get started. Some like a 3PL like ours, we have a minimum commitment of 2,500 units a month. So once you hit that, it makes much more sense to work with somebody like us just because of the expertise and value we're able to provide in FBA. So your products would go out faster, your cash would turn around faster. We just have industry experience that you would be able to pick our brains on in terms of the actual process, product packaging, all those types of things. So yeah, we see 2,500 is really the sweet spot. Above that is where we start to take on fulfillment.
Okay. And in terms of timelines, because this is something that also creates a lot of friction with working 3PLs. Like, sometimes people might think that this takes months to set up. It's very lengthy process and everything. Even from my experience, I know that's not the case. But can you just, I guess, high levels a picture how having an engagement with a 3PL and a warehousing will usually look like from your point of view? Yeah.
Absolutely. So you contact the 3PL first. Absolutely verify their reviews. So us, for example, you would message us, you would email us, right? So you just shoot us an email, or you go to our website, awesomesolutionsnj.com. The email is ship@awesomesolutionsnj.com. So you shoot us an email, we get the conversation started. We send you an inquiry form, or you can fill it out on our website, which asks for just simple things like how many SKUs you have, what industry you're fulfilling in, or what like product type you have, and then how many orders you're doing a month. And then you get a pricing sheet. Once that's agreed upon, there's a contract process, which all of this just takes one day. And then onboarding stage, which connects to your Amazon account. And then you're able to start sending inventory and fulfilling right from there.
Yeah. Straightforward.
Very, very fast.
No, not too much friction. That's why I wanted you to go very quickly over that, because I feel sometimes, especially people have never done it, they might feel a bit on the fence. So it's good that you highlight that.
Yep.
Cool. And I guess to start bringing final remarks, something I also would like to get from you is, like, I guess also a high level comparison of how potentially you add so much more value to something very generic, such as, what Amazon can offer from a warehousing perspective, AWD, or things along those lines. So what do you see, especially your clients, I'm sure tell you this all the time, like they see an extra layer of support or service that you will never get from Amazon
Right.
beyond the cost, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge thing for our customers. It could be one of the biggest things because they could come to us with things that are like, hey, my physical product needs this, or can you verify like the label looks like that, or if I put it in a bubble wrap box and drop it down, the stairs, will it break? Like they want to verify things. We're on the floor. We can also send to AWD, but even with AWD, a lot of the clients, they can't get that support. There's nobody to talk to. So if they wanted to do anything beyond just sending the inventory out, like if they want to bundle things, it's just going to
Hmm.
be a long process for them. So in terms of those things, we're able to provide that support. And I think that having somebody to actually speak to that's on the floor with your inventory is one of the biggest things.
Cool. Awesome, Christian. I mean, I think we, highlighted a lot of things across the board, but just to conclude, is there any final remarks or I guess also tips you feel we didn't cover that you'd like to bring forward in terms of all these subject that we have touched to them?
Yeah, definitely stay updated with everything that Amazon does. They make a bunch of changes. They could either destroy your business or help you scale it
Mm,
a lot because they have things that they change for their own sake that could affect everything you do. So definitely stay updated with them. Work with the 3PL once you hit that 2,500 fulfillment like unit range for sure, because then you're able to take logistics off your plate. Most of the founders we see, once they take logistics, fulfillment, returns, once they take that entire thing off their plate, they're able to just scale much faster because then they're able to focus on what really matters.
love it, man. So thank you so much. And tell us how people can find and work with you.
Absolutely. They can catch me on LinkedIn, just my name, Krushna Patel, or just go to awesomesolutionsnj.com. There's a form there to work with us. Fill that out and our team will contact you.
Cool, man. So it was a pleasure. I know we had to briefly touch a lot of these points, but this is a universe of so many more things. So
Yep.
that's why I invite everybody to reach out to you to go more in depth. And other than that, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hell yeah, it's a great time.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. Bye bye.